pumps. A man who shops for watches with Justin Bieber. A man who doesn't know the meaning of the phrase, "Stop it, Rob." The one and only comedy from Mr. Robert Stephen Kelly.
Well, Dan, despite his words, has never scared me too much. Being afraid of Dan would be a little like being afraid of the most fierce guy in a boy band. Right? Yeah. Sorry. I wasn't going to use that, but then you sort of cracked on me, so I wanted to love you back. But let's be honest here. Tonight there's a lot of celebration, there's a lot of good things going on. However, there's also time to mourn a little bit. Right? You've seen the documentaries, the rockumentaries. You know what happens to each and every rock star. They start out, they get a little fame, and they're going along, and then before you know it, the worst thing possible happens. They end up in country music. And so we don't know when, but Dan one day will be playing country music. And so we should take a little bit of time tonight just to mourn that. And as long as we're being honest, and I'll say that a lot tonight because it's important to be honest, especially when you're doing comedy, you never want to inject any hyperbole or anything like that. But comedians have it much tougher than musicians, right? I mean, thank you for the one person who agreed with that. That's enough for me. I don't even need to go anymore with that. But I mean, musicians, they have the hit song that comes out, right? And I mean, people buy that song and they play that song over and over and over and over again. And so they've played it 6,192 times. And then they show up at the concert and they know that somehow their life will not be complete unless they hear that same song for the 6,193rd time. Right? That happens. But comedians, they have a run, they have a little bit they do. If they say that same thing over again, people are just kind of sitting there with their arms just folded saying, yeah, I've heard that before. Right? And musicians have it a lot easier in the concerts themselves. Because the musician, everyone kind of knows the words of the song. And so if they're maybe, a little bit too dependent on certain chemicals, if they've had a long road trip, if the song's been overproduced in the studio, and the quality can never be matched on stage, if all of that's going on, then they get to a certain chorus part, and instead of singing, they just hold out. Man, it doesn't work that way with comedians, right? I mean, sometimes you do the same thing over and over and over again. I do a lot of the grocery shopping, so I go grocery shopping. And I like to mix it up a little bit, so I go into the grocery store and... See, you leave the brother hanging, you got nothing. But what I like to do sometimes, I like to go to the grocery store, I like to buy everything in alphabetical order. I mean, it makes for a really long trip. And then I get up to the checkout, and I like to have them run everything through in alphabetical order, and then put it into the alphabetical bags that I bring along with me. And some people claim I'm OCD, I'm not. Alright? There's a couple other things I like to do. If you go shopping, you go to the grocery store, sometimes you can make the cashier think just a little bit more than they want to. I like to buy just 2 items, then go up to the cashier. I walk up with cat food and a wok. That's a good one. Sometimes I'll buy a case of bratwurst and a tube of preparation H. That's pretty good. One time, this is my favorite thing I did, is I went to the store and I bought some Chinese noodles, then I got some spaghetti sauce, and I went to the cashier who was from Mexico, and I spoke to her in German and I paid in yen. It was awesome. She kind of got into it too, because through the sign language that she gave back to me, I could tell she really enjoyed that. Man, I don't like to shop. Anybody in here hate shopping? I mean, you just don't like to do it? Look good. We'll never all go shopping together. It'll be good. My wife, when we first got married, I would go shopping with her. We'd go to the mall and that kind of stuff. And, you're at the mall, and you're going to be there for a while, and you're going to do all the shopping stuff. And, I'd be there like 1, 2, maybe 2.5 minutes. And I've got this terrible headache that just kind of comes on me. And everything starts to spin, and my mouth gets dry, and it's hard for me to function. And so I just have to sit down. And so it got to the point where Carol Ann would not ask me to go to the mall anymore with her for a long time. But then a couple of years ago, she came up with this new idea. And that is that she pre-medicates me before I go to the mall. And so she'll give me like 6 Excedrin before I go to the mall, about an hour before I go to the mall. And I just kind of walk along comatose. And I just say yes to everything. And so I think that's working out pretty well for her. But she's always been the person that's been the most supportive in everything that I've done in life. And so the first time I ever did stand-up, I kind of approached her and I said, well, honey, what do you think? Is this a good idea? Should I do this? Is this a good idea? And she said, well, I don't know. She said, you need to be funny. I said, okay, that's good. And of all the things I thought of, I missed that one. And then she kind of got into it. A couple weeks later, she said, hey, I got some ideas for you. I said, okay, what do you have? She said, remember when, we were first married, we were married about 5 years, we had our 3 kids, and remember you'd come home from work, and you remember how messy the house was? You remember how funny that was? I'm like, no, not at all. You walk in, and there's dishes piled in the sink. Oh, that's funny. Is that the trash I smell? And all these toys all over the floor. That's so funny because we bought a toy box. And my remote has syrup. I mean, it doesn't get any funnier than that. The dog peed on the couch. That's great, honey. Those are really funny things. But I love hanging out with my wife. One of the favorite things we do is actually to go to concerts. We go to concerts, all shapes, sizes, different music types, different venues. And you go to a concert, and there are always certain people that will be at a concert, right? No matter what, there's always certain people that will be there. One of the individuals that's always at a concert is Talker Girl. Right? This is the girl who somehow thinks 10,000 people have gathered together to hear her story. They've come to the same place at the same time to hear her story and the drama that's going on in her life with her boyfriend. And you know that's true because she's talking loud enough for all 10,000 people to hear. And then you always have a tall guy at the concert. Right? And I don't know why it is, but 6'10" guy always stands right in front of me. And I'm not even overly compassionate toward tall guy because I'm not that tall myself. But why is it that tall guy is always in like the 4th row? Well, I studied this and I figured out the reason why tall guy is always in the 4th row. And the reason is because 6'10" tall guy always dates 4'6" girl. Am I right? And so they're down in the front row, and about halfway through the concert, 4'6" girl is on 6'10" guy's shoulders, and then you have 10 feet of obstruction in front of you. The other person you always have at a concert, no matter where it is, what's going on, you have a sweaty guy. Right? And it's not always the bigger guy. Sometimes it is, but it's a guy that's moving around a lot to the music, and that's his body way of saying, please stop. Right? We got to get some sweat going here so you don't overheat and kill yourself. And so sweaty guy's moving around you and you're like trying to dodge him, right? And then I don't know, maybe I'm going to the wrong concerts, but every once in a while, especially outside concert, all of a sudden you see a group of people and they do something like this. Well, that's because throw-up guy is right in that circle. And I don't know, maybe my standards are a little high. Maybe I'm a little bit picky, but throwing down $50 for a concert, a good time is not standing behind tall guy listening to Talker Girl and trying to avoid sweat and throw up, right? That's not really my most favorite thing that I do. Sometimes it's so bad it makes me want to go shopping and take Excedrin, right? Vomit, right? There's a good one. Pretty much everyone thinks vomit's disgusting. You're thinking, man, that bridges, cultural gaps, different belief systems, different ethnicities, different nationalities. Pretty much everyone thinks vomit is disgusting. And why is it that little kids cannot throw up in the bathroom? Why can't they make it to the bathroom? And that's why mom always gives little Junior a big bowl to throw up in. And the weird thing about that is it's always the popcorn bowl. Right? I mean, it's the popcorn bowl. It's what you make popcorn out of that made the kid sick in the first